Welcome to SuperTalk, the podcast that scratches your superhero itch. Just two suburban dads nerding out over superhero stuff on the small screen and the big. Buckle up, people. Enjoy the ride.
Welcome to SuperTalk, the weekly podcast dedicated to news and reviews of comic book media on the big and small screen. This is episode 161. I'm your host, Brian Professor Pettis, and with me, as always, my illustrious frozen fisherman, Titanium, Tony Estrella, Titanium. Welcome back.
Yes, sir. Happy Memorial Day. How was your Memorial Day?
It was pleasant. It was, I mean, as we were discussing, it's probably one of the coolest Memorial Days I can remember in history. Now, when I say cool, it was like perfect weather from my perspective, like 72 degrees and sunny was wonderful. But, you know, all the pools that were opening, I don't think there were many people hanging out at the pools when it was like 72 degrees and
a little too chilly for pool day.
Yeah, no humidity. But again, exactly the kind of weather I like. But this time of year, a little cool on the cooler side. But hey, you said, you know, I mean, Titanium went off, spent the weekend with some friends of ours, and was really excited to do some fishing this weekend, and it did not turn out well.
No, got my ass kicked on the water. Just two small fish in the boat. It was tough. It was tough out there. It was a little chilly, a little wet.
Yeah.
Got my ass kicked in golf too.
Oh boy.
I haven't been on a golf course, Professor, in over 20 years. At least over 20 years. And I've been going to the range a lot. I've had a lesson, and I have some more lessons coming up. But my biggest fear was stepping up into the box, the tee box,
and having to send that little white pill down the fairway.
That is correct. That was like an anxiety, and I faced that anxiety, and it was everything I didn't want it to be. I hit the ball heavy the first one. I chunked it, and it went 2 feet in front of me. And then after that, I reset, re-teed it up, and then hit this worm slice into the bushes right next to the tee box.
Yeah.
So it was absolutely ridiculous. And after I took a couple of deep breaths and was like, don't try to hit it too hard. Just try to get it onto the fairway, literally 15 feet or 20 feet.
Right.
And as soon as I aimed for 20 feet, I knocked it straight down the fairway.
Yeah.
But awful start. Like the worst start I could have.
So simple goals to start with: airborne and forward.
Yes.
Two simple goals.
Yes.
Right? Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I wasn't keeping it simple. I was in my head. I was thinking about my positioning, my shoulders. I was thinking about not swaying. I was thinking about my hand.
Welcome to the fray, my friend.
It was
welcome to the fray.
Same thing happened fishing. Hit a big wave, came over the boat, crashed on me, got soaking wet. Like the third or fourth cast, just a complete shit show. It was the line I didn't notice was tied around the last eye hole, and as I whipped a cast out, it whipped the line and took my lure and nothing else. And I was like, this is a horrible start, just a bad start. So I was in the penalty box until I had to retie, super glue a new head on. Paddle tail, get it all fixed up, and then I was fishing. But it was a tough weekend.
I mean, you've just told two stories that tell all of us why they created alcohol. Right, exactly right there.
You know, that was the only thing that didn't let me down this weekend.
That's right.
By the way, St. Michael's, gorgeous.
Yeah,
gorgeous, and probably
cool little town.
Probably one of the top 2 crab cakes I've ever had in my life was there at the Crab Claw.
Well, you know what?
Phenomenal.
You know what they do there? If you make a bad crab cake there,
you shouldn't be in business.
You're not allowed back.
No. You shouldn't be in business.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
But I mean, it was great little town. We had an absolute blast there.
Yeah, and you know, that's a great thing about that place is that, you know, there's like these nice little shops and boutiques, and the girls, you know, and then they have these like microbrews, and so like you and I can go have a beer and watch some sports, and the girls can go shopping, and you know, nobody's upset about any of that.
Oh, the ladies loved it. The little boutique shops and everything is really super cute there.
Oh, great! Glad you had a great weekend.
Yeah,
we got. Fortunately, unfortunately, there's a lot of big news that came out this past week that we need to discuss.
Yep.
So let's get into it.
The good, the bad, and the really ugly.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it. Well, first, we did have a couple of new trailers since our last episode that
Okay.
came out
Yep.
that we want to talk about. First one I'll talk about is we finally did get a trailer for the Ironheart series coming out on Disney Plus. What middle what I got here? June 24th, so the end of June. Um, this show has been done since the end of 2023
2 years.
or maybe mid 2023. Had been delayed several times for unknown reasons. They just didn't release it, but they've been done filming this show for a couple of years. And whether it didn't fit into the story they were telling or where they were planning on going with the characters or whatever, it doesn't matter. We know they went through this big revamp and everything else, and now this is one of those remaining shows that's from the old guard or the old cadre of people working at Marvel that made this show. But we had no idea what the show was about.
No.
Zero.
Well, we've heard rumors and innuendos.
There's been a lot of speculation.
Yep.
But there was like we as consumers had been given no information about what this television show was going to be about.
All we knew is they casted Sacha Baron Cohen as Mephisto. We know
potentially.
Allegedly.
Sacha Baron Cohen is playing a character in the program potentially. That's all we were told.
Mm-hmm.
But we knew it was going to be Ironheart, and we knew the Red Hood was going to be in the show as well. But we're like, okay, Ironheart, kind of like kind of the next generation of Iron Man, really smart, Riri Williams, really smart kid. We saw her in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. How does that fit into the Red Hood as more of a more supernatural type of character? Like,
Right.
Where does this all fit in? And the trailer did give us a little indication into what the show's going to be about. Seems like Riri is either still in MIT or been kicked out of MIT. We're not really sure what's happening there, but we know she did the quote unquote internship in Wakanda, came home and wanted to make her own mark. And she gets recruited by the Red Hood. Don't know why, don't know what his motivation is, don't know, but the trailer shows us her kind of going through a trial. He traps her in an elevator that's got a bomb in it, and she's got to defuse it or else she's gonna get killed, and she ends up doing it. But we find out that he's now wants her to do jobs for him, using her wits and technology and everything else. What those jobs are and what their main purpose is, we still don't know.
Yeah.
We do see some good parts in the trailer of her new suit that she's building. Looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
Special effects look, I mean, heck, they've had 2 years to polish this, so it should look pretty good.
So the good, the bad, the ugly, right? The good is the special effects look great.
Yeah.
Like the suit, the way it moves, the CGI, the VFX looks really good.
Right.
They've had plenty of time to put it together. That was a positive. The bad, it was underwhelming. The trailer as a whole was underwhelming. It really didn't give too much of the story. I think in that trailer, we kind of get that she doesn't have the resources that Tony Stark does. She's not a billionaire. She's kind of scrambling for resources to do her projects and build things that she wants to do. And I think that's why she gets hooked up with the Red Hood.
Yeah, and I think like some of her friends are like, who are you working with, and why are they giving you all this money?
Right.
And they're questioning it too, right? Yeah.
So the bad is that it was underwhelming. It really didn't get me interested in the character moving forward. The storyline seemed kind of blah.
One interesting aspect I wanted to draw attention to in the trailer was at the end of the trailer, we see her meeting with another guy. I can't remember the actor's name playing, but a younger guy, kind of in his 20s as well. And
he's the son of.
Right. That's what I was going to ask you about. He's Obadiah Stane's son from Iron Man 1.
Right.
But he's kind of like in the base. He's got his own basement with all these screens around and everything else. And they end up connecting at some point in time. But I think that that's kind of interesting, reintroducing Obadiah Stane's son into the show. Maybe that plays some kind of role in the plot and everything else.
Yeah,
So.
and he's got a lot of Stark technology there,
But it
and
seems like he's going to be more of a man in the chair type of guy,
kind
doesn't
of
he?
that's the way I kind of
Yeah.
got it. But still, I still felt like that was underwhelming. It was like, so who cares?
Right.
The
Seems
ugly.
like you're really looking forward to this coming out.
I'm gonna watch it. I hope it's better than what I think it is, at least what the trailer depicted. So,
But
so
after
the
2 years, like how well connected can it be? And I guess why do I care at this point in time? And that's kind of what we're talking about
yeah,
here is that this show was completed 2 years ago by a previous regime at Marvel that was doing shows for different purposes than they're doing now. And it seems like to me that they've kind of gotten this thought process of maybe now we're just doing standalone programs that should stand alone and be on their own and not be connected into this larger universe. And maybe that's all this is. And if it's entertaining and watchable, we'll be happy with it.
well, that gets me into the ugly, right?
Okay.
That gets me into the ugly.
Perfect.
The what happened there is what you're saying would be nice, would be great, but that's not how this was sold. It was sold as a connective piece to the bigger, larger story, and that's what people are like saying. Really, there's so much controversy about how they're trying to stand up this again CD level character that is fairly new to the comics, and completely, you know. Stark was in the comics was her mentor and an AI system to help her and guide her and teach her. There's no such thing. They're going in a completely
Well,
different direction.
and they did tease that a bit in the trailer.
They did.
At one point in time, you see this AI kind of see, I guess, what is a hologram start to be forming up in front of her that she's now going to be talking to, and they cut away before you see who it is. My guess is that it's Shuri.
Probably
Yeah,
that should be
talking to
her
her
mentor.
from Wakanda.
That
Yeah,
should be her mentor. I agree with that. That is probably the twist that they did. But again, a CD level character that's just getting blasted
right.
online,
Well, this
and
is
it's getting ugly online
and
for the
here's
show.
one of the, I'm going to assume one of the positives is that Ryan Coogler was very heavily involved in the making of this show. And as a matter of fact, during the trailer, they splash it on the screen, like at the beginning of the trailer.
The whole marketing was
Yeah.
behind. He is the executive producer.
Executive producer from executive producer Ryan Coogler, right?
I mean, the Black Panther logo was bigger than the Ironheart logo in all of the marketing.
Right.
His name was bigger
Right.
than any other actors in it. They are pushing him out front of this, and they're trying to market it as his baby. And it's interesting. He even came out and said that no, this isn't, she is not taking up the mantle of Ironheart or replacing Iron Man in any way. This is her own thing, which I tend to like even better.
If that's the case, I'm happy with it. I'm fine with it. But and we know that Marvel originally had plans to do this extended universe around Wakanda. We know that they have the animated series Eyes of Wakanda coming out later this year, but they were going to be doing a what was the Battle Angels or whatever it was, the
Midnight Angels.
Midnight Angels. They were going to be doing that. They were going to be doing
snooze
yeah,
fest.
they were going to be doing a bunch of different series on Wakanda, and all that's been scrapped now. I think the best you and I can hope for at this point in time is that it's an entertaining standalone product that that's it, all it is, right?
I'm in the camp of recast T'Challa. I'm in that
Right.
camp. I'm bedded like a wood tick in that camp. I feel that there is no other way to go with the Black Panther IP but to recast T'Challa. It has to happen.
And we've said this many times on our program. It is a devastating tragedy losing Chadwick Boseman, not only for the way that they've now treated that character since he passed away tragically, but how important that character is within the MCU. And it was an incredibly popular character and very much so an important character in a lot of the storylines that they're covering now that they don't have access to.
Yeah.
And I remember us talking about it when he passed away, when they made the decision not to recast him. You and I questioned that, going, okay, I understand why they made this decision, but at the same time, I'm disappointed only because of what that character means in the grand scheme of everything that's going on.
And all the stories behind that character. We absolutely did cover that. And the position they were put in for Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever, I thought they handled brilliantly, even though it wasn't as good as a movie as the first one. I thought they handled it as best that they could. They were dealt a hand and they only had certain plays to get out with that tragic loss. But now it is time to move forward with a new Black Panther.
They have the option to do that now with the multiverse.
I really hope they do and they don't screw this up. So I think we've talked about Ironheart enough. We're
all right.
We need
let's
to move
on to the subject that I know Titanium is very excited to talk about, and that's we did finally receive a full trailer for the Superman movie. We got an initial teaser trailer, had a couple of smaller teaser trailers coming after that, but we got the final full trailer for this movie. I want to hear what you're wearing the t-shirt. I mean, yeah. Titanium. What are your thoughts about this trailer?
I struggle with comparisons from the Zack Snyder brand of Superman. Man of Steel, to this day, Man of Steel is one of my favorite all-time
comic book movies
ever. It's up there. If it's not number 3, it's number 2 up in my list as all time. So I struggle with that and that vision that he had, because I really like Henry Cavill a lot. Now, saying that, this is Superman. This is an iconic superhero that has been in my life, our lives, in the comics forever and ever.
Even in comic, one of the earliest superheroes to be brought to the big screen.
So we've seen several iterations of this character played by several different actors, all beloved, all I think did a really, really good job. That being said, I'm very anxious to see this movie in its entirety. The trailer teased some things that I liked. It teased some things that I didn't like. And we'll have to see how it all shakes out. Now, again, and I've said this online and I've said this to everybody that asked. I trust in James Gunn. He has not given me a reason yet to not trust him.
Right.
But there is Fantastic Four and Superman. I think Superman has more weight of a studio and
certainly
moving forward with DC Comics in the media aspect of it. It has so much more weight than
these movies are being released a week apart from each other.
Yeah.
And there are already comparisons to see, which movie's going to do better at the box office. I would argue that I think the percentage chance of Superman doing better at the box office than Fantastic Four is much higher.
Agree.
For 2 reasons. One, because you're talking about the A-list of A-list characters, probably Superman and Batman, probably 2 of the A-list characters out there. And not that the Fantastic Four isn't an A-list team. They are, but they're nowhere on the level of Superman and Batman. Way. And the importance of this movie in the future of the DCU that James Gunn's creating. I think they're both going to do well just because of when they're coming out in the middle of July and all those other things. But, the trailer for me, here's what I like. I like that James Gunn has really embraced the Richard Donner era of the Superman movies. And you can kind of see that, he's using that theme song, in the trailer. The color scheme is very bright, very vibrant, not like Zack Snyder's. It was much more muted, dull colors. He's using bright, vivid colors. I like all of that. The story, we got a little bit more idea about the story. It seems like in the trailer, there was a interview between Lois Lane, who's his girlfriend. He allows her to interview him, Clark Kent, as Superman. And
so she knows he's Superman. Yeah. They're already in a relationship.
Right.
All that has been established.
Right.
Which is a neat jumping off point.
Love it.
Yeah.
I think it's all great. We don't need to do an origin story again.
We've seen it way too many times.
But it seems to me that, Lex Luthor has a calculated campaign against Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see Lois Lane's asking a bunch of questions about, here's how the media is perceiving you. Here's how you're being perceived around the world. And he's like, I'm not doing any of this because of anybody else, but I just think it's the right thing to do. I'm trying to save lives, you know? And, but Lex Luthor is obviously doing something to get the public against him. And
Yeah.
we've seen that several times in a lot of the trailer footage that we've seen. And he's fighting against that. And we know that he gets apprehended, and we know that he fights against the technician and you know, Ultraman or whatever they're calling
That's
the bad Superman,
right.
right?
That's another thing, very eye-opening. There are other either metahumans or superhumans. We know there's a lantern, so he's could be alien. There's alien substances here. So I think there's a lot of different powered beings in this, more so than any
And it
other.
seems like he gets taken captive at some point in time. And I don't know it's after he gets apprehended or if it's another time, because he's sitting in that kind of
Yeah.
like pocket universe that looks like Lex Luthor has access to. And you see Metamorpho
Yeah.
there next to him. And Metamorpho, another character from the comics, can transmogrify his body to be any element in the universe, and you can see that he's actually made his fist into um kryptonite,
Yeah.
which is why, you know, Superman's feeling weak and can kind of be
Right.
manhandled. But I think it's going to be good. Look, Rachel Brosnahan, I love her. She's fantastic. I think she's a really good casting for Lois Lane. I'm looking forward to their dynamic, and hopefully it's a good one. I like the fact that they brought in a character from what's the name? The Authority, the technician coming in from the Authority, and you saw her in the trailers wrecking house a few times and fighting Superman and invading the Fortress of Solitude and things like that. I think that's really cool. I think it's going to be, it seems to me like it's going to be much more of a team up movie
Yeah.
than it is just an individual Superman movie. And that's, I think, some of the universe building that James Gunn's trying to, he's got Maxwell Lord's Justice Crew or whatever they're calling themselves, of Hawkgirl and Green Lantern and Mr. Terrific, either helping Superman or kind of not helping him. We're kind of trying to figure that out, but I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I mean,
Until it's not. I mean,
so you're worried.
I'm a little worried.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried. Like more so after the trailer than I was before. And
Really?
and
Okay.
everybody's saying it's got the right amount of humor. It's got the right amount of this. It's going to pull on your heartstrings. I do think he focuses and it could just be what the clips that we've seen. But there's so much focus on crypto and the dog, and we do have a lot of superpowered beings. Now, to just throw them on screen and not give any explanation, it just seems like a lot of catching up to do. To build this world, it seems like there's a lot that he needs to kind of explain in order to make sense of what this movie.
He's pretty good at that, though.
I'm hoping so, but I'm worried. I will say this for the first time.
And I think this is what you and I can kind of draw comparisons to. He brought a team of heroes, quote unquote, the Guardians of the Galaxy, to the big screen that nobody knew.
Yeah.
I mean, except, you know, those of us who were comic book geeks,
right?
Nobody knew who these characters were.
Yeah.
And was able to bring them to the big screen incredibly successfully and get people to not only enjoy that movie, but then care about these characters for many years.
Invested in that. Yeah.
And so he's good at that, right? So we'll see how it works out. I agree. I'd say the trailer didn't put my fears to rest, but I feel like I kind of have an idea where they're going with this movie, and I'm excited for it. We've said this, Titanium. This has to work.
Yeah.
You know, you have to have a good Superman in the DCU. You have to, or it just doesn't work. I don't care how good your Batman is or your Wonder Woman or whatever. If Superman is not relevant and we're convinced that this character is somebody we want to root for and support, we're done.
Emotionally invested in this character is the key.
And think about the next movie they have coming out is a Supergirl movie. I mean, and if Superman doesn't work, how good is Supergirl going to work? Right. So this has to work. They'll put the marketing might of Warner Brothers behind this. I'm sure there'll be everything and anything you can imagine about this movie. I do trust in James Gunn, and I hope it's a good product.
Me
at
too.
the end of the day.
Agree.
All right.
If anything else comes out about it, we'll we'll jump on
And
it.
speaking of Warner Brothers, one other trailer that came out around the same time, Peacemaker season 2 trailer. We finally got the full trailer for Peacemaker season 2.
Looks so good.
And this, in quite contrast to what we just talked about, I'm so excited for.
Me too.
What he's done with this character in the movie that he was in, the Suicide Squad movie, but then had his own first season. It seems like it's really a carryover from season 1. And so even though the DCEU is gone, his part of the DCEU is still around for some reason. It's kind of funny, but look, John Cena really hit it out of the park with his portrayal of this character, and just his idiotic nature of just who he is. And the trailer was great, where he goes into interview to be part of the Justice Crew, and he's hearing everything they're saying about him, and he gets rejected, and he's just so funny. This season looks great. They're bringing back all the original cast.
Yep.
It looks like, he's really trying to kind of find his way in the world now after the events of season 1. I'm looking forward to this. I think it's going to be great.
It looks like it has some kind of pocket universe that he goes through a door and
well, it's the
finds
same
himself.
pocket universe his dad had.
His dad has this pocket universe where he does all of his experiments, all of his weaponry, all of his computers, his all of his
stashes
stuff
all of his stuff he stole
in a pocket universe, and then he ends up out of this pocket universe and
runs into another version of himself.
Yeah. I mean, it looks good. I think it looks really, really good. I'm more excited about that than anything right now. And I have heard that Lanterns is going to be fire too. Like some of the people
that I'm looking forward to.
The early versions of Lantern again. And it's so funny that once they announced this and they said it was going to be a team up, the Jon Stewart and the Hal Jordan kind of Lanterns team up together, I said it would be really cool if they did some kind of like True Detective and thing.
Well, they're space cops. I mean, that's what they are.
Next thing you know, they're hiring the True Detective guys to do this. And I think it is phenomenal. I'm really looking forward to it.
I love Kyle Chandler. I mean, he's
great.
He's a great actor, and I've loved everything he's been in. So I'm looking forward to that too. When does that come out?
I mean, they've been filming it for a while.
So is it next spring, maybe?
I think maybe next spring.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have to find that out.
That's good. I'm looking forward to that,
yeah, me too.
We'll hopefully hear some more news about that as they get further down the road. All right, well, let's jump into some news. There have been a few items this week we want to talk through. You mentioned to me the other day that DC Studios, who was curiously, or maybe not so curiously, absent from Comic-Con last year, will have a presence at San Diego Comic-Con this year. Not surprising, with Superman coming out the week after Comic-Con, to be there to promote the film, to promote other projects they have coming out.
Supergirl filming. I'm sure they're going to talk about that. Have
Lanterns, Peacemaker season 2. I mean, they've got a lot of things to promote. I mean, the only thing, we were actually there for the panel for the Penguin series, which was, as we talked about on this program, incredibly successful. I thought one of the best things that I saw on TV last year was Penguin.
Yeah.
But that was the only presence they really had last year. But it seems like they're going to have a big booth there. They're going to be doing some heavy promotion, not only of the Superman movie, but all the other projects they have come out. They'll probably have a panel at some point in time. That's going to be great.
Yeah, that's going to be a big
sign.
Showcase for them. It's a great sign for DC. Absolutely, which makes me a little hesitant about what Marvel's going to do. So we'll have to see. It's going to be a game time decision for the Marvel.
Well, as we get,
and I say that as far as the Fantastic Four having that preview that Thursday night.
Yeah, as we get into our topic of the week, we'll kind of touch on that a little bit. There were some new, I will say, promotions for Fantastic Four released here this past week during the NBA playoffs. They're doing a kind of a cross promotion with the NBA and the Fantastic Four movie. This is the Marvel marketing engine at its best, working really hard to kind of get some buzz around this movie going, since it does come out in another 2 months. Some scenes from the movie, and then some scenes that looks like they filmed directly for this promotion as well.
Agree.
But it does seem to me the one thing that I take away from them is I do like the dynamic that the Fantastic Four family is they're trying to create in the film. You know, they do get along very well, and they are kind of like a family. And
Right.
you kind of see that in some of the promotions they're doing. So
I think
I've enjoyed that.
they're doing a really good job at promoting that and establishing that family feel. Yeah.
And again, the one upside, downside, whatever you want to call it, you know, the Thunderbolts post credit scene really kind of, from my perspective, puts a huge damper on this movie of like, how does this end? It doesn't seem like it ends well for anybody. And we're really going to get introduced to this family and the world that they live in, the world that they've created, and the people that they've been, you know, chosen to protect. It seems like their world's going to get eaten, and they're going to have to get the hell out of there and save their own asses. So, I mean, I don't know where this movie goes.
It's going to be interesting. And I think the teaser at the end of the Thunderbolts only made me more curious of what happens.
Right.
And I think that was the point of that. My taste buds were wet going into the Thunderbolts at the end of that post-credit scene, like, holy cow, what just happened? And then rewatching the trailer, like, okay, was that their world exploding or getting
Right.
eaten? What's going on? So it'll be very interesting.
It'll be interesting. And I think if nothing else, they're trying to introduce us to this new cast of characters that are playing the Fantastic Four in their own bubble, which is what we've been told this is. This is their world. There are no other superheroes there. This is on an alternate, you know, universe version of Earth or whatever it is. And maybe that's what this movie's designed to do. And then for some reason, they make their way to our universe and then they're here. So maybe that's their end goal anyway.
Yeah, and one of the clips, Reed Richards, Pedro Pascal playing Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, says that, I stretched the boundaries of space and somebody heard.
And they heard, yeah.
And they heard. Maybe that's the case, but I have a feeling Galactus is there because of the birth of Franklin, and Galactus knows the power that Franklin possesses or will possess. So I think it's interesting. All that I'm really interested to find out what happens. Now, what am I more excited for? What are you more excited for, Professor? Superman and Fantastic Four?
Well, I think Superman is just way more important.
Agree.
I say that, but if you look at the Fantastic Four movie and what Marvel has planned after the Fantastic Four movie, the success of that movie is very important to the success of the future projects they have coming down the road with Doomsday and Secret Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And so I say it's very important as well. If that movie bombs and does not do well, the chance that those characters are latched onto for those future projects lessen. So I think that's important. But Superman, if it fails, I mean, James Gunn could be out of a job.
There's studio riding on Superman. And
yeah.
And I tend to agree with you somewhat, that the Fantastic Four is super important, but if it pales, and it doesn't do phenomenal, I still think Doom and the anticipation of Doom's arrival will pull the novice fans out of their homes to go.
I think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And we have another news item here that I want to talk about in regard to the box office returns for Thunderbolts. But if Fantastic Four does not do well in the box office, this will be a historical run for Marvel of lackluster performance at the box office, which is not good.
No.
It says a lot about superhero fatigue. It says a lot about their ability to kind of bring the fans back into the theaters. And I think that Fantastic Four needs to do in the neighborhood of 600 to 700 million worldwide to kind of justify these kind of, I'll say, blockbuster superhero movies. If it continues down the trend of less than expected returns, we're really, and maybe that tells a lot about what the decisions that Marvel here made recently. I think that the reason it's important is because they can't have a bunch of duds leading into a big project.
No.
Right. And what I was going to refer to was, the Thunderbolts. There was an article that came out that talked about the box office performance of the Thunderbolts movie. And to date, so after Memorial Day weekend, it has now grossed 355 million worldwide. It is the second lowest grossing movie in MCU history, just in front, well, not just in front, actually, well in front of the Marvels, which did like 206 million, which was really bad. And Captain America Brave New World did 370 million. So it's just lagging behind that. And I think at the end of the day, it may cross over that $370 million threshold at the end of the day when it's done, when it's running in theaters. And it is a better movie than Captain America Brave New World, by the way.
No question.
But those are three of the movies they've released in the last 2.5 years. And they have not had a really successful box office return for a movie they've made since Spider-Man No Way Home. Everything else has really kind of done average.
Lackluster. Yeah.
Yeah. And the article went into superhero fatigue and does Marvel still have the ability to bring people to the box office and everything? And one thing the article did talk about, which I agree with, is that the most shocking part of this is the Thunderbolts is a good movie. The others that did not do that well in the box office were not really good movies.
No.
I mean, The Marvels was a horrible movie. Captain America Brave New World was I'll say, below average movie. The Thunderbolts was widely revered by fans and critics alike. They thought it was a very good movie, and it still is where it is.
Well, it is. It does not, the movie is not indicative of what it did in the box office. I think it was a way better movie than what it performed in the box office. But again, these are B, C level characters that they put together in a team type fashion.
And the budget was much lower, by the way.
I don't think the budget had much to do with it. I don't think the special effects really, I mean, like I thought it was really good.
Who was the if you could call it right now, who was the biggest character in that movie that everybody should or would recognize?
Florence Pugh.
No. Character, not actress.
Character. Probably the Winter Soldier, Bucky.
Exactly. To your point, a B, C list character was the headline character of that movie,
but not the star of the movie.
No. I get you. That's what my point is, and that's where you're going with this. Is that they have chosen several times now to focus major projects on less than major characters.
Agree.
And the projects where they and that's the difference between this movie and Captain America. Captain America Brave New World focused on Captain America, A-list character. Sam Wilson's Captain America, not an A-list character.
No, sir.
Right? So, but the name recognition alone brought people to the theaters because it was Captain America.
And the Red Hulk.
Right.
Which you saw everything in the trailer and was only in the movie for 10
minutes.
10
right.
Minutes, yeah.
Right.
So very tough. Yeah, they're in a crossroads. And it's funny, even before Thunderbolts or the New Avengers, which it's what it's called now, even the New Avengers, even before it came out, Kevin Feige said that a lot is riding on Fantastic Four. We're putting all of our efforts into Fantastic Four. That will springboard us into the next big movies. And it's an important springboard movie. He didn't talk much about, I mean, he was wearing the Thunderbolts hat and he was promoting the Thunderbolts, but he said that Fantastic Four is one of our priorities right now moving forward. It is a very big and important movie. So even he was talking about, like, he basically skipped over the New Avengers, but I think it was a great movie.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I did too. I think I'm definitely going to see it again when it comes out. Streaming, I'll watch it again because it's that good of a movie.
Yeah,
I liked it a lot.
It was very, very entertaining, very watchable. I liked all the actors and characters. I think, end of the day, I think Fantastic Four will do well. Look, the actors they chose to play those characters, I think, have a following, and each of their characters, so each of those actors have their own little following. I'd say Vanessa Kirby probably the least of all of those, but Pedro Pascal is in everything now, and he's incredibly popular. Quinn is really, he's been in a lot of things you've ever seen. Did you see Warfare? What a crazy movie that was.
Yeah,
He was in
my
Joseph
son saw it.
Quinn.
He
Oh,
said it was phenomenal.
insane movie. But he has a big following from young viewers. So
From Stranger Things. Yep.
yeah, but I think it's going to do well. We'll see how well it does. But let's
Looking
get
for
into our topic of the week because
Yep.
this is kind of leads into this. And this is the big announcement by Marvel Studios. They are officially now delaying Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars about 7 months, 6 to 7 months from their original release date. And I did want to mention that this is brought to us by our friends over at Studio GG Studios.
Studio G's, home of the man band, corner of the cow.
Thanks, Studio G, and check them out. Their page is listed in our show notes every week, and we like their support. So why don't you go support them? Thank you very much, Studio G. Big announcement came out, and I'll say, and you'll probably echo this, I was not surprised. As a matter of fact, I half expected this for several reasons. Both movies, when announced at San Diego Comic-Con last year, we were there. Avengers Doomsday was slated to be released May 1st, 2026. We got Robert Downey Jr. playing Dr. Doom. We got the Russo brothers back as executive producers and directors of the movie. That movie coming out May 1st, 2026. And then May 7th, 2027 is Avengers Secret Wars, a year apart. We were under the impression that the Russos, the way that they operate, they would be filming both movies kind of back to back, similar to what they did with Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, that they would be kind of rolling through filming both of these movies and doing reshoots and all those other things to get them out the door. We got the big Chair Watch announcement a month and a half ago, announcing the
with
cast.
a shit ton of A-list actors.
Yep, announcing the cast of Avengers Doomsday, who was in the movie, that they had officially announced that they were filming. We were all excited about it. And then the announcement comes out that they're delaying these movies. Now, Avengers Doomsday is delayed to December 18th, 2026. And Secret Wars has been delayed to December 17th, 2027. So effectively going from May to December, a 7-month delay for both movies. And again, I'm not surprised. As a matter of fact, part of me is happy. I'd rather them have more time to do it right.
Agree.
Than rush it to the screen and do it wrong. Here are my concerns. We have Fantastic Four coming out this July. We have no other Marvel film planned until next July. So a year. It will be a full year between Marvel films coming out. So we have July this year, Fantastic Four. Here's the good part of this announcement. They did not change the release date for Spider-Man Brand New Day.
Yet.
Still scheduled to be released July 31st, 2026, which makes a lot of sense because we were led to believe Avengers Doomsday was going to come out in May. Spider-Man 4 Brand New Day was going to come out in July. And we were told it was a prequel or that it was going to take place prior to Avengers Doomsday. We're like, well, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Right.
Why would you come out with Doomsday and then release a movie after Doomsday that takes place before Doomsday? That makes no sense in the world. And they were like, well, it'll make sense when you see it. You'll understand why Spider-Man wasn't in Doomsday and what he was up to and what he was doing, why he wasn't in the movie or whatever it is. Okay. Well, now they don't have to worry about that. If it does take place before Doomsday, it actually will take place before Doomsday, so that'll happen. So that's good. And they haven't delayed that movie yet. But it'll be a full year between Fantastic Four and Spider-Man Brand New Day. That's a full year without a Marvel film. Not that that's a bad thing.
Not that that's a bad thing at all.
Especially if you're talking about superhero fatigue. Maybe we need a year of a break.
I think it's a good time to do it before Doom gets introduced.
Right.
I think it's a great time to pull back product, slow down production. Don't put so much out in the market that people are oversaturated with. let them starve a little bit.
Yeah.
Let the fans
Maybe
starve
let-
for
let
content
it
a little bit.
cultivate,
It
right?
needs to, we need to appreciate the content, and when we don't have it, we're going to miss it. You know, it's like anything. If there's so much product in the market, you're like, I can get that anytime. I can see it later.
Well, and the other side to this announcement was not only did they delay these movies 7 months each, they also removed a number of things that were on the schedule. So they originally had a date on the Disney had released a Marvel Studios movie release date of February 13th, 2026. That was originally marked for a Marvel movie, gone.
Yeah.
Which we could have anticipated because they really don't have anything filming right now that
Nothing.
could have come out in February anyway.
Oh, by the way, they haven't even started filming Spider-Man 4.
Right.
Yeah, it's slated to start filming in July.
Right.
And you're going to tell me
It's going to release a year later.
And rumor has it the Hulk is in it. Like,
Yeah.
Banner's going to be.
That's the other thing that came out this week is now Mark Ruffalo has been officially attached to Spider-Man 4 Brand New Day. Whether it's Bruce Banner or Bruce Banner in the Hulk or what version of the Hulk it is, we'll find out in the movie. But Mark Ruffalo has now been attached to this film.
Is he Spider-Man's new mentor? Two scientists bring that back, or is
it
Hulk
continues the tradition of
the antagonist? Is he the villain in this?
Right. It continues the tradition of an Avenger or an Avenger adjacent character being attached to a Spider-Man movie. And this has been the case in every Tom Holland movie that's come out.
Yep.
You know, Homecoming had Iron Man in Homecoming. I mean, we had Iron Man in Home. I mean, we had Robert Downey Jr. was in Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yep.
Right. We had in Spider-Man Far From Home,
Nick Fury.
We had Nick Fury and Maria Hill. Theoretically, they were Skrulls, but we didn't know that at the time. But Nick Fury, Maria Hill, and Happy Hogan all in that movie.
Yep.
Right. In Spider-Man Far From Home, we had Doctor Strange.
Yep.
Right. So we've had other Marvel characters in these Spider-Man movies before.
Right.
This would continue that tradition of kind of bringing in some adjacent characters from the Avengers into this movie. Now, here's the twist. Interesting twist. Well, I'll ask you a question. In all those other previous movies, they all knew who Peter Parker was. They all knew Peter Parker was Spider-Man. Bruce Banner doesn't know Peter Parker Spider-Man.
He does not.
He doesn't know anything about who a Peter Parker is.
How are they going to handle that?
Right.
That'll be interesting.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah.
As a matter, from my perspective, that'll be great. Which leads me to believe it's more of a Hulk cameo than it is
I would tend to agree with you.
And I hear the role is not just a cameo; it is
part of
the movie.
Yeah, agree. So, which means that's what I'm saying. Is he Savage Hulk? Is he the villain in this? Is he the main antagonist in this?
Great question.
Or when Doctor Strange did the mind erase, was the Hulk, and only the Hulk forgot who Spider-Man was?
Wow.
And Bruce Banner still knows who Spider-Man is. Yeah. Who knows? That's what I've been tickling.
So anyway, that's, and there were a couple of other dates. There was a November 6, 2026 and a November 7, 2027 time slots, or we'll say, release slots for Marvel movies that were also removed from the schedule. They've now been changed to Disney movies.
Yeah.
So again, if this tells me a lot of things, this tells me Marvel, you got a lot of splaining to do.
Yeah, they'll get to it.
And I think, at Comic-Con this year, we should hopefully get a story of what their plan is, right? Okay, we've got Fantastic Four coming out this July. It's going to be a big blockbuster release. It's going to be very important to the future of the MCU and what we're doing and everything else. Some post-credit scenes are going to set everything up. Okay. And then we got Spider-Man, still slated for July as of now. And then following that, we have Avengers Doomsday the following December. So a year and a half between real Marvel movies, because we know Spider-Man will be a Sony / Marvel collaboration. But nothing else scheduled right now. There's nothing else on the slate other than Secret Wars in December 2027. So then if Doomsday comes out in December 2026, and then Secret Wars comes out in December 2027, there's no other Marvel movie between those two.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
And again, the rumors are that original May slot in 2027 that was vacated by Secret Wars maybe is another Marvel movie
Yeah, Doctor
that's been
Strange.
rumored.
Yeah,
Doctor Strange 3,
yeah.
Thor 5, Shang-Chi 2. It
Yep.
could be one of those the movies that have been talked about, in pre-production right now, that maybe they fill one of those slots. I have a hard time believing they're going to go a full year between releases of movies and then go another full year without releasing another movie.
We get one Marvel movie a year. That's unprecedented. Two, I could see them pulling back to just two.
Well, there's two next year, but there wouldn't be two in 2027 right now.
Well, unless they announce something. And I
Right.
think we'll know more at Comic-Con. I think at Comic-Con, obviously, they're gonna double down on Fantastic Four at Comic-Con. There's two things. It's either going to be a reduced kind of panel and a reduced presence by Marvel,
Or
at
it will
Comic-Con,
be
or
major announcements.
it will be full on double down on Fantastic Four, full on double down on Spider-Man 4, and announce and have a huge panel, announce people that are going to be there and show some kind of maybe pre-production kind of photos and things like that. And then a huge announcement for what's coming up. Like, what do they have planned for that May before Secret Wars?
Or
Is
anything.
Secret Wars going to be a double movie? Are they going to do that in two parts, which could
happen.
very easily happen? So Comic-Con, I'm looking forward to just for that announcement. But
Well, and
again,
a lot of the other things that there's a bunch of other so we know some of the Disney Plus things they have coming out. We know Daredevil Born Again is going to have a season 2. We know we got the Eyes of Wakanda. We have, Wonder Man coming out later this year. There's a bunch of, but they've also rumored at, these special presentations. Is there going to be the Punisher one shot? Is there going to be
right,
give us all of that other stuff too? Because here's how we're going to fill the gaps in
right.
between the time that we have. We're going to create these other little pieces of content for you to chew on while you're waiting for these other big things to come out. And that's what I'm looking forward to as well. Is like, what else is happening?
Yeah.
And I would be shocked if we went into Comic-Con this year and at the end of the day, we got nothing more than we already know. I have a feeling they're going to announce a couple of other things that we don't know yet. And there may be one or two of these dates that were like, in 2020, early 2027 or, late 2026. They're like, yeah, we didn't tell you about this one, but this one's been in the works. So
Right.
it's been pre-production and
Right.
we're starting filming here in another month or so. Right. Yeah. And I think that there's other things that we don't know about, because this announcement definitely, really, everybody's like, what the heck is going on? And I don't see this as a bad thing.
I don't
see
either.
this as, thank you. You were very
right.
ambitious trying to put that whole cast of people in chairs onto a screen together and morph them into this great story that you wanted to tell. And I really, really, really have been trying. It's hard to stay away from the plot leaks and
Oh yeah.
There's a new person out every week that says, oh, new Doomsday plot leak, new story. They're all out there.
Yeah.
And I try to stay away from all of it. But there was a story that came out here a couple of days ago that somewhat makes a little sense. And in some ways, I would be behind it, that Robert Downey Jr. playing Doomsday is temporary, in that he would start Doomsday as Robert Downey Jr.'s version of Doomsday, and he would be recruiting this team across the multiverse of these characters that we are assuming are going to be part of it, like the Hydra Captain America, the Hydra Black Widow, the whatever, and putting his team together. And then once his team's put together, we find out that he stole, Tony Stark's identity so that he could put this team together, but it's really this other person, and that there's a new actor going to be taking over the role of Doom eventually going forward. And that Robert Downey Jr. is playing multiple characters in these films. Like
I could see
Tony
that.
Stark will be coming back
Yeah.
as Iron Man, whether it's our Tony's, not, I don't think it's our Tony Stark. We know what happened to ours, but another Tony Stark from another universe coming back and being part of Secret Wars makes total sense to me.
Yeah. And that's how you recast T'Challa. It leaves the door wide open to bring in a new Panther. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be great. But let's get through Fantastic Four and Superman first.
Yes.
Okay.
Big time this summer for sure.
All right, sir. The bell is rung. School is over, Professor.
All right, that's it for us this week. We'll be back next week for more Super Talk. To get in touch with us on social media, hit us up via email, supertalkpodcast@outlook.com or @supertalkpod on Twitter. Until then, stay super, everyone.
Corner of the man.